Okay, so my presentation is on converting existing ETL solutions over to Microsoft Fabric, and that journey and everything I found out and what that process looks like. So to kick off a little bit about me, my name is Daniel Rutledge. I'm a senior manager of product development at Pros Revenue Management in Houston. My responsibilities at Pros include management of several engineering teams, including a team that is responsible for integration layers and ETL transforms for our solutions. And that's the focus of today's talk. ETL, if you haven't heard it already, is extract, transform, load, and that's the primary responsibility of that set of solutions. And then as part of this exercise, I went ahead and got the vouchers to do DP 600 and 700. If you guys have any questions about those tests or what I did to train for it, I'm happy to answer it afterward. So a little bit about Pros. Pros is based in Houston, Texas. It has about 1,000 employees, and they sell enterprise pricing software for companies that have products that are inherently difficult to price. So there's kinds of two sides of that. There's the time sensitivity side, which means businesses like airlines, car rentals, if the plane leaves with an empty seat, or if the Super Bowl happens and the car is sitting in the lot, that's revenue that your company didn't realize when that happened. So you want to come up with a pricing model that's effective and gets the most revenue for all of those assets. The other side of that is companies with very large, complex product portfolios. So we're talking hundreds of thousands of SKUs and product families, and you need to be able to organize and price all that effectively, taking into mind the customer base that you're selling to, taking into mind competitor prices for similar product groups, all that sort of thing. So not so much the time portion of it, but the complexity. So I have some customers listed up here. It's on our website, so I'm not doing anything I shouldn't. BASF and HPE are examples of customers with very large product portfolios that they sell. So BASF is hundreds of thousands of chemicals, and then HPE is, of course, electronics and services. And then Emirates Sky Cargo is the other side of things, right? So if the plane leaves and there's empty cargo space, that's unrealized revenue for the company. So we have a series of enterprise pricing and quoting products, but these products require data in specific formats. So some of the older ones want XML, a lot of them want OData JSON-based uploads, some of them want CSVs. They're all kind of unique to the environment they grew up in and the kind of data they happen to be dealing with. So you run into a lot of scenarios where customers want direct integration of external data sources. And you saw a lot of this with Sanjay's presentation earlier, where you saw all those arrows coming in from different sides, right? So you've got SAP, you've got Salesforce, you've got Snowflake, you've got Databricks, you've got more primitive sources like SFTP or just a straight up database, and then all different clouds too, right? There's blob storage, but it's on all the different major cloud providers. So this team is responsible for building and maintaining those set of integrations. And you've got like straight up platforms like Microsoft Dynamics. Yeah. So what do you do when the customer won't transform their data? So we have the formats that we want the data in and we make it public, but most of the time, these customers that I just listed, they don't want to get their data into our formats, right? They say, look, just do it for us. We'll give you a key to the blob storage, just like make it happen for us, right? So, you want to make things happen, so the answer is going to be yes, right? So what does that look like? We have 30 unique customer solutions interfacing with a lot of the things I just mentioned. So like S3 buckets, SQL Server, and Oracle databases, SAP and Microsoft Dynamics. And each of those is a very special, unique solution that is tailored to that customer, which has its downsides because there's not a lot of reusability. And the customer transaction data is at a volume of the hundreds of thousands up into the millions per day, depending on what solution you're looking at. And these are all batch-based solutions. There's no real time right now. So that could be at a daily, hourly, or 15 to 10 minute intervals. But each of those is just a special snowflake, not data snowflake, but just in the proverbial sense that is unique to that customer's needs to get their data into our systems. So I always like to make this interactive and just go and let's take a look at what some of the resources for one of these customers looks like. So what I have here is the MSD solution. This is one of our simplest solutions, but you see you have storage accounts and you have data factories and alerting mechanisms associated with this particular solution. So I'm just going to go into the sandbox data factory resource, and we're just going to poke around a little bit just to see what things look like. Just show of hands while it's loading. How many folks kind of worked in the previous generation of Azure data engineering technologies? All right, good. A good number of people. So we go in here and then we see we've got some Databricks notebooks. We've got a blob storage and just nothing too sophisticated. Again, this is one of our simpler solutions, but even going to show you guys one of the Databricks notebooks in a second. Even that can get pretty sophisticated for a simple ETL solution. So the tech stack for all of these solutions is based on the previous generation of data engineering technologies. So Azure Data Factory pipelines, Python-based Databricks notebooks, and then just kind of vanilla Azure services to go along with it. So key vaults, storage accounts, logic apps, that sort of thing. So, and some Azure functions thrown in there too. So what does a solution look like when we take it over to Fabric, right? That's kind of the exercise I wanted to go through and see what I encountered and what I found out. So if you have existing Azure Data Factory resources, what I'm going to show you really was very helpful, and I hope that you guys take advantage of it after this presentation as well. So in Data Factory, there's an option to mount resources in Fabric. And what this looks like, it means that you're going to be able to take advantage of all of the features that Fabric has to offer, but still maintain the, oh, did I switch again? Okay. still maintain all the benefits of being in Fabric and things like reporting and data science that you get over on Fabric. So let's go ahead and do that. So we got ADF in Fabric. Let's go do it. I've already got a workspace made over in Fabric. And I'll also note if you're using Power BI, okay, I already had it mounted. If you're using Power BI, then you get a free trial to Fabric itself. So I highly encourage everyone to do that. Just like Tom's presentation, we were also using Power BI in a pre-Fabric sense. So you can go and get a free trial for Fabric resources if you have a Power BI capacity already. So now we're over in Fabric and we're in my workspace, and there's a fully fledged data factory interface in here, and you can see that the experience is similar to what you would see with the pipeline capabilities currently. That is, the pipeline's native to Fabric. So we have all of our resources in here, and let me just go ahead and open one up so we have a reference to look at. But we've got with the whole data factory structure made it over. This is you're still working within data factory. So if I go and edit one of these, you're not going to see like Gen 2 data flows or anything like that. You're going to see the option to add kind of what we call previous generation Azure data engineering capabilities. But this is it's still really big, because now you can do stuff like if you have an intermediate blob storage that you're landing data in, like this solution is, you can pull up a report and look at the data that's in there in Fabric, or you can hook this up into Fabric monitoring and kind of incorporate it into your whole data flow of all the Fabric resources that you have currently. So this was, as part of this experiment, this was immensely helpful, and I encourage anybody that has ADF resources to go through this exercise and do this as well. Look at what you get from examining your ADF resources and kind of see what you can push out of Fabric, particularly on the storage side, to enhance these solutions. So that was kind of a sample solution that did some simple copies and zips. It's a pretty simple one. I just had a slide on the kind of business problems that we're looking to solve here. It's nothing really exotic, but in this case and the other solutions case, we want to get data, in this case from SFTP, over to our solution. So it's stuff that gets zipped up or unzipped and then filtered out a bit and then zipped up and put somewhere else. Pretty standard. And then I just kind of put a sample ETL problem of an exercise that you want to do on an existing solution just to get more comfortable with the Fabric interface. So pull the transaction data from a blob storage account and then enrich with a conditional column, say like L for large customer, if they have a revenue greater than 50,000 or not. Now, that was kind of the world of Azure Data Factory. You're going to want to think about what those solutions look like in the Fabric universe. And then that's where you get to the consideration of the three options that you have here. You have data flow Gen 2, pipelines, and notebooks. So data flows Gen 2 is a low-code option for simple transformations, and you've got a pretty large breadth of integration options. So ADF has a connector library of 150 connectors or so. Sanjay showed it earlier today, and you still get the advantages of that connector library when you use data flows Gen 2. Pipelines, it's good for more complex business transformations, and then as Tom said earlier, you get lots of options for triggers and interacting with other Azure services in particular. So in the case of the solution we were just looking at, where it's an ADF with several stages, pipelines would be a nice transfer for those resources. And then notebooks is the most complex option. In that case, you're working with Python or T-SQL, and it's for really, we found it's for really heavy lifting. But in the case of the solution where we just saw, you can just graft your Databricks notebook over to the Fabric equivalent because they were really inspired by Databricks notebooks, and the capabilities translate pretty seamlessly. And then notebooks come with their own infrastructure and clusters that you have to manage as well. The good thing is that under the hood, everything is Spark jobs. So I found that you don't really have to worry about costing when you select one of these options. Just pick the tool that's best for the job that you have at hand. So what does all this stuff look like with Fabric? What are we getting out of it, right? So we've seen that it's pretty easy to just go and maintain the solutions that we have in the Fabric platform. That's really huge. We get to reuse the Power BI reports that we already had. I mean, obviously Power BI is a first-class citizen of Fabric, so we get to reuse the reports that we had and continue to maintain them within Fabric right next to the data solution. And then we can, as I said, you can use the storage resources and the pipelines that you had to build new reports and pipelines off of them. In utilizing Fabric natively, we're looking at speeding up the time to value to new solutions. So when you would develop a kind of previous generation ETL solution, every different resource had to be managed and checked in separately. While with Fabric, it's all managed under one umbrella. So we used to have individual ARM templates that corresponded to different pieces of the solution, and kind of managing that deployment in Azure DevOps was a little bit of a pain. But we're looking forward to time to value with the new ETL solutions here. And then of course, as I said earlier, no real-time analytics. Of course, that's something everyone's really excited about with Fabric, as we saw in the demo earlier. Okay, that's it. I'm happy to field any questions or anything I found out as part of this experiment.
How the artifacts, if it is updated in the ADF, it is automatically updated in the Fabric itself, or you want to change it to the Fabric? You want to add new copy activities and other activities?
It's mounted in Fabric, so it's like you're working in the ADF interface within Fabric. There's no other resource that you have to go in and update.
Yeah, for the ADF mounted into the Fabric, right? So still are we using the data factory?
It's still using the data factory compute. It's still, as I showed, it's still the same resources that are being used in the original definition. If you want to actually migrate them to use Fabric compute, you do have to take advantage of a migration path that Azure's published.
So when I mounted the data factory, is there any option that I can use the one lake data, like Fabric's one lake in the data factory?
You should be able to use it as a connector from Data Factory. Like Data Factory will have connectors to pretty much every Azure resource. So you should be able to pull it in that way, but I don't think that you could like use OneLake natively within Data Factory, right?
So it is just like seeing a pipeline from Fabric, that's it. Right?
Well, you have the options, like you can take the like intermediate storage areas of Data Factory and build reports and monitoring, and you can incorporate it into your monitoring and alert stream in Fabric, right?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the key challenges that you're moving to the fiber to the organization?
It really is, I would say, it's not so much of a challenge, but of those three, picking the right tool for the job, right? Like taking some solution that's 6 years old that no one's touched, and even then, there's been pre-fabric things that have come out that make that solution better.
So do you find any major challenges to moving the time?
I found that pipelines is a pretty clean conversion for ADF resources. So setting that as a default, like ADF goes to pipelines, Databricks notebooks go to notebooks, right? That was a pretty good default way to handle it.
I'm interested in the CI/CD thing that you said. You said the old method has different deployment architects, and so you have to do CI/CD pipelines, and the new one seamless. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So in Fabric, you're not managing 6 or 7 or 10 plus ARM templates for a solution, right? And really, these solutions would employ a lot of both Azure Data Factory and Logic apps, and those functionalities are encompassed in pipelines, right? So you get both. So there's less decision trees, less resources to manage, right?
So how about in governance and securities?
I'm sorry?
So governance and security process way.
Like the security process, like the governance of the data that's passing through.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitively better in Fabric, right? Just because Purview is natively integrated into Fabric right now, right? Again, with the old solution, every resource had to be kind of examined individually, right? Okay, like let's examine our firewall capabilities and our access policies on every single intermediate storage account that was part of the old solution, right?
That's a major porthole in endpoints. So.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So from data factory to Fabric, right? So is there any additional cost involved here?
No, you're just like porting making a. It's not mirroring. You're not mirroring data, but you're just like making a virtual mount of the resource, right? Yeah. There's no additional cost.
Yes. And one more question. So coming to the CI/CD, right? So can we use the Azure DevOps and GitHub Actions for the Fabric?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And you should. All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks for sticking with me.